The deceiver thrives in silence, feeding on your unawareness and emotional vulnerability. It does not announce its arrival with thunder or chaos. Instead, it waits patiently, camouflaged within your routines, your patterns, and your unchecked thoughts. It survives in the shadows of your subconscious, growing stronger each time you ignore it, each time you dismiss a gut feeling, each time you choose comfort over challenge. The danger lies not just in its presence, but in the fact that most people never recognize it until it's too late. It whispers subtly, wrapping its influence around your emotions, convincing you that fear is wisdom, that doubt is caution, that settling is security. And the more you entertain these whispers, the more you surrender your clarity, your focus, and your strength. It is in moments of hesitation that it finds a way in. When you doubt your ability, when you compare yourself to others, when you postpone your responsibilities thinking there is always more time, that's when the deceiver feeds. It becomes the internal voice that tells you, why bother, you'll fail anyway. It's the weight in your chest when you try to take initiative, the invisible hand that holds you back when you attempt to rise. Most people don't realize they've been conditioned by it until they see their dreams slipping away, until they find themselves stuck in a life they didn't choose but passively accepted. They look around and wonder what happened, never realizing that the enemy wasn't outside. It was inside, manipulating them in moments they thought were harmless. The deceiver doesn't need to attack you head on. All it needs is your inattention. It operates in silence, in your quiet decisions to quit early, to stay where it's safe, to avoid failure at the cost of growth. And every time you let these small compromises go unchecked, the deceiver becomes stronger. It builds its kingdom on your emotional fragility, on your anger, your disappointment, your guilt, your need to be accepted. It knows your weaknesses better than you do because it helped shape them. It grew beside you, adapting to your environment, learning when to strike and when to remain hidden. And when you are emotionally vulnerable, hurt, tired, rejected, that is when it wraps around you like a second skin, blurring your vision and distorting your sense of truth. Most people walk through life never truly questioning the source of their inner voice. They confuse the deceiver's voice with their own. They think the fear is their natural instinct. They think their limitations are facts, but those are lies, the most dangerous kind, because they feel familiar. They feel like home, and so people begin to protect their limitations. They justify them. They defend them against anything or anyone that threatens to pull them out of their comfort zone. The deceiver doesn't even have to fight anymore. It simply watches as people defend their own destruction, believing it's protection. There's something profoundly powerful about silence, but silence without awareness is not peace, it is paralysis. If your mind is silent but untrained, the deceiver speaks louder than ever. It speaks in the form of procrastination, of addiction, of distraction. It speaks through endless scrolling, late-night anxiety, the inability to be alone without stimulation. These are not coincidences. They are signs that the deceiver is active, that it's been invited in without question, and in that silence it feeds. It feeds on the attention you give to everything that pulls you away from yourself. This is why awareness is not optional. It is essential. You must become aware of the moments you feel weakest, the times you make excuses, the patterns that repeat in your life. Trace them back. Ask why. Then ask again. Eventually, if you dig deep enough, you will find the deceiver. It might appear as a memory, a wound, a belief system, but once you see it, you cannot unsee it, and from that moment on, you have a choice. You can either continue to be led by it, or you can begin the work of dismantling it, layer by layer. The path is not easy, because every step forward the deceiver will push back. It will scream louder as you near your breakthrough. It will flood you with doubt when you are closest to clarity. It will disguise its voice as logic, telling you to be realistic, to lower your expectations, to wait for the right moment. But the right moment will never come unless you create it. And creating it requires the strength to sit with discomfort, to feel the pull of the deceiver and not obey it. It requires courage to question the thoughts that feel most natural, because often those are the ones planted by fear, not by truth. You must become a guardian of your own mind, watch your thoughts, question your reactions, observe your emotions without becoming them. The deceiver thrives when you act without understanding, so learn to pause. Not to hesitate, but to see clearly. In the stillness of that pause, the deceiver is exposed, and when exposed, it begins to shrink, because its power lies in secrecy. Once seen, its grip weakens, and in that weakening, you find your strength. Not the kind of strength that flexes or shouts, but the quiet strength of presence, of awareness, of inner mastery. Every day you will face the deceiver, not just once, but many times, in choices big and small. And every time you recognize it and choose differently, you reclaim a piece of yourself, a piece that had been stolen not by force, but by agreement. This journey is not about perfection. It's about vigilance. It's about remembering, again and again, that you are not your thoughts, you are the observer. That clarity is always available, but you must choose it. That silence is not the enemy, but silence without awareness is the deceiver's favorite home. Let others chase noise and comfort. Let them justify their stagnation, but not you. You are here to see what others cannot, to act when others freeze, to confront the quiet enemy not with fear, but with fire. That is the way forward. That is how you reclaim your power, not by fighting the world, but by mastering the one within. Clarity of mind and disciplined action are the only weapons that can expose and defeat it. When the deceiver begins to speak, it never shouts. It whispers with a tone of familiarity. It uses the language of your past, your failures, your disappointments, and your fears. And in that quiet manipulation, it clouds your judgment, twists your perception, and alters your reality without your awareness. It thrives in mental fog, where thoughts are disorganized and decisions are emotional. That is why clarity is not just a mental state. It is a form of armor. When your mind is clear, when you see yourself and the world without distortion, the deceiver has nowhere to hide. Its voice becomes obvious, and its manipulation becomes pathetic. Clarity turns illusion into exposure. What once felt like fear becomes an opportunity to overcome. What once looked like failure becomes feedback for growth. But this kind of clarity is not accidental. It must be forged through discipline, presence, and conscious living. Discipline is the bridge between knowing and becoming. Without it, even the greatest truths remain useless. The deceiver knows this. That is why it constantly tempts you to delay, to think more but do less, to analyze instead of act. Clarity without action is wasted potential, and action without clarity is chaos. The key is to bring both together, sharpen your vision, and move with intention. That's why disciplined action becomes a spiritual practice. It is not just about external productivity. It is about internal alignment. It is about doing what must be done, even when you don't feel like it. Especially when you don't feel like it, because that is the exact moment when the deceiver tries to intervene. It tells you it's not the right time, that you need more rest, more information, more preparation. But you already know the truth. You're just afraid to live it. And that is why discipline is the doorway to freedom. You cannot think your way out of every inner battle. Some thoughts must be acted upon to silence them. Action brings certainty. Action exposes the truth. If you want to know whether something is real or not, take a step forward. If it collapses, it was false. If it resists, it is real. The deceiver cannot survive in the energy of direct action. It hides in delay, in waiting, in hypotheticals. But once you move, once you decide, it begins to retreat. The fog starts to clear. The voice becomes quieter. Your own inner voice becomes louder, more stable, more confident. And in this process, you begin to trust yourself. That trust is essential, because without trust, clarity is doubted. Without trust, discipline is abandoned. But with trust, even the most uncertain path becomes walkable. Clarity does not mean the absence of struggle. It means the presence of understanding. When you are clear, you understand that discomfort is not your enemy. You stop running from it. You sit with it. You study it. You see what it teaches you, and as you do, the deceiver loses its leverage. It cannot use pain to manipulate you when you are no longer afraid of pain. It cannot use failure against you when you are willing to fail forward. Clarity teaches you how to reframe, and reframing is the key to reclaiming. You reclaim your power every time you stop interpreting difficulty as defeat, every time you see obstacles as teachers, every time you accept that growth is supposed to feel this way. Discipline requires consistency, not occasional bursts of motivation, but daily alignment with your values. It is easy to be disciplined when things go your way, but true discipline is tested in silence, in boredom, in repetition. The deceiver often strikes when nothing exciting is happening. It tells you that your work is meaningless, that your progress is invisible, that you should chase something more stimulating. But that is the trap. Greatness is not found in constant excitement. It is forged in stillness, in the quiet hours where no one is watching, where habits are shaped and character is built. You will never outwork the deceiver through intensity alone. You will defeat it through consistency. One small act of alignment, repeated daily, is more powerful than one massive burst of inspiration that fades in a week. Clarity sharpens your focus, and discipline directs that focus into movement. Together, they create momentum. And once momentum builds, the deceiver panics. It can no longer keep up with your speed. Your inner system starts running on truth, not fear. And when that happens, breakthroughs occur. Not because everything outside changed, but because you stopped giving power to the voice that wanted to hold you back. The deceiver is not stronger than you. It never was. It only survives when you are unclear and inconsistent. Its strength is an illusion built upon your hesitation and indecision, and that is why your greatest victory will not be found in a single moment, but in your daily discipline, in waking up and choosing clarity again, in showing up even when you're tired, in speaking truth when it's easier to stay silent. Clarity also demands honesty. You must be willing to see yourself without ego, to admit where you have been lying to yourself, to acknowledge the patterns you have allowed to continue. Many people seek clarity, but few are ready to face what it reveals. That's why they stay distracted. They fear the truth, but what you fear controls you. And only through honest self-reflection can you dissolve the power of fear. It is uncomfortable, but it is necessary. And on the other side of that discomfort is your true self, undistorted, undeceived, undivided. That self cannot be manipulated because it is rooted in something deeper than emotion. It is rooted in truth. When you move through life with a clear mind and disciplined body, you become a different kind of person. Not someone who is never tempted or tested, but someone who cannot be easily broken. You stop chasing validation. You stop reacting to every opinion. You start creating your own reality, one choice at a time. And that is when you become dangerous to the deceiver, because now you see it coming, you feel its approach, and instead of surrendering, you stand still, you breathe, and you act from truth, not reaction. That is mastery, that is power. You may not win every battle. The deceiver may still whisper from time to time, but every time you choose clarity, every time you take disciplined action, you weaken its grip. You push back, you reclaim your life, and in that process, you become the person you were meant to be, not controlled, not deceived, but awakened, focused, and free. That is not a moment, it is a way of life. A way of living that must be chosen again and again, but each time you choose it, it becomes easier, and eventually the deceiver no longer leads. You do.